That was huge. I think most people that were there don't realize what just happened. What happened there when John Choi beat Ver. Like me and Choi, we've all been playing a lot on
Yeah,
Fightcade, right? But like, this is all recent. Guys like Version, they never stop playing. This is their game.
yeah, yeah,
This is the guy that comes up with all the tech that we use, right?
yeah.
He wins. He runs Ultimate Zero, which is their nationals, their big tournament in Japan. He is the guy to beat.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the Absolute Guard podcast. This is episode 5, the podcast where we chronicle the past and the present of the fighting game community and bring on various perspectives from Arizona. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series, YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series, and on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify under Absolute Guard. To all of you watching and listening, we appreciate you. All of you that have liked and subscribed, tweeted and retweeted, and we welcome any feedback you have about the show or any guests that you want to see. My name is Benny, aka AK Grandmaster B, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the Maestro of Mujicon, Jon. How's it going, Jon?
The Maestro of Mujicon. Pretty good. I haven't thought about Mujicon in a while. Did you know we did an online version of it last year for Phoenix Children's Hospital? That was
Yep, I have one of the shirts. I gave it to my daughter. My daughter wears it to school every now and then. She tells me she gets random people like asking like, "What's that?" So,
oh man, yeah. We'll probably chronicle Mujicon with a different guest later on. So yeah, how was your week, by the way, Benny?
well, I mean, we just talked a couple of days ago, so I mean, there's not too much going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I did schedule my first 2 pilot lessons, so looking forward to that.
Hey, congrats! You're gonna be
pretty
flying.
Yeah, one day we'll get there.
Very
But how
cool.
about you? The last day or so, or today, I guess.
Yeah, since the last time we taped. Yeah, I guess this week I taped a podcast, episode 4. Check that out. What else did I do? Oh, up until like this today, I've just actually been learning a new character in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I'm learning Howlrong right now. He's kind of nutty, very unintuitive for a character. But
Nice.
yeah.
That's cool. Well, I mean, today we're joined by one of the OGs of the AZ scene and the FGC in general, the MILF Hunter himself, Scott, aka SabreAZ. How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing good. Thanks for the MILF Hunter shout out.
Oh man,
that's old.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one in a long time. Also, now you've got a little gray in your beard, so you're like vintage MILF Hunter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What's
going
on, guys?
Man?
It's been good, Evo, and yeah, first time going, and God knows how long. It was an experience.
Yeah, we'll talk about that shortly here. Let's get a little bit about you first. I know you always as SabreAZ. Give us a little bit behind that name, and then also like I think there was another name you went by back in the day. I think it was like CyberCrypt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you can give us a little history behind those.
So the whole Sabre thing, there's really not much to it. It was back in the 90s, and there was this BBS. It was a bulletin board thing. It was when the internet was still pretty new. It was called, I think it was just called H2H. We called it H2H, stood for head to head. And this is before internet gaming. And what it was a local BBS. And it was a way to play LAN games online.
Oh.
So like if I wanted to play like games like Doom or Duke Nukem or Warcraft 2 before there was BattleNet. This was all pre-Quake. And you would log on here, and the basically that software is basically it would simulate a LAN setting, but you would play online. It's not really online. You dial into a BBS, so you're actually not on the internet. You're just logged into the server. And
I see.
I needed to find a username because this is like the birth of the internet, pretty much, right? This is like 1995. And, thinking of like online names was not a thing yet. So I was like, I don't want to call myself. And
Yeah.
I remember at the time I was watching, it was an anime at the time before anime was huge out here. In the Japan, it was from Tekken Man Blade. I can't
Okay.
remember what they called
Yeah.
it here, the US version, but I don't even know what his real name is in Japan. But
Tekken
in
Man Blade
America,
was in Tatsunoko versus Capcom, right? So there was
right,
some
right,
precedence, right?
absolutely. So I don't remember. I don't know what his name was in Japanese, but there was like it was one of the antagonists. His name was Saber, and I was like, I like that guy. I'm just gonna use that. That was it. That was it. I'm not even
Nice.
really a fan of the name, but it just stuck. And then Benny for that one, that was around the exact same time when I was on X Band, and same problem. I didn't know what to name myself, and one of my best friends at the time, he just like, well, we're online. You love wearing blue, and you listen to rap music, so we're just gonna call you Cypher. Not a gangbanger or nothing. I did hang around some questionable people, but yeah, that was about it. So that's really all there is to it. And then the MILF Hunter thing that came around like early 2000s when I would hang out on IRC channel Capcom a lot and on SRK, and then like I think it was around B5
Okay.
pre-Evo days. That was 2001 when I first actually met like guys like offline for the first time, like Mike Watson and Jaha and all that. And I can't remember if it was Watson or Jaha, but he's like, man, you look like that porn star MILF Hunter. And it just kind of stuck. And at the same time, I kind of had a reputation for dating single mothers, like good single mothers.
The original.
So,
Oh, man.
yeah, I mean that name only really stuck in circles. I never officially used it just because
Yeah.
it would have been a lot of red flags all over the place. You know what I mean?
There would have been a lot of
And,
questions, I think.
Yeah.
Is that really him? Would be the first question I would ask.
My wife, she asked me, she was like, what is that? Because like they were I was in some chat and they're
Yeah.
constantly referring me to that. And she's like, what is that? And I had to tell her, and she was kind of lost. And she kind of like gave me that look like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Keep in mind, my wife is from Kenya, and like English is like a fifth language, so like some of the sarcasm and all that stuff,
Yeah.
The jovial ribbing.
double up. Yeah, all that stuff kind of goes over her head a little bit. That was back in the day. I mean, obviously she knows that.
Yeah.
Speaking of back in the day, I'm curious about when you got started playing fighting games, Saber.
Well, I am old. The obvious answer would be Street Fighter 2, right?
Street Fighter 2?
Arcades in 1991, but that would not be the answer for me.
Oh.
You would think the other answer would be Street Fighter 1 in 1987, and that would also not be the correct answer.
So you're not true OG. It sounds like.
No, I'm further than that. I'm like further OG. I used to play a lot of Street Fighter 1. So my roots come back from like, I want to say, you could say Karate Champ, but I never liked that game because it plays like crap.
Yeah.
Even though the stuff that's in there is pretty impressive for its time, but it plays like crap.
Yeah.
But I would say like my first like real introduction was 1985. I believe it was the 85. Yar Kung Fu from Konami.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I heard about that. Yep.
It's a one-player fighting game. It's set up exactly like a fighting game, like you would know it, life bars and everything, lots of moves.
Yep.
But it's only one player versus CPU.
Yeah.
And you would go through, I think, 8 stages. Each stage, the characters have different move sets.
Yeah.
And you actually have high, mids, and lows in that game.
Oh wow. Okay. So all that stuff
you have a
then,
punch. Huh? Yeah. You have a punch. You have a kick button, and then you obviously have your 8-way stick, right? And each direction and plus a button is a move.
Oh, okay.
So you have 16 moves, and you have to know like what moves are going to beat what. There was a lot of depth to it.
Are you still moving around in a 2D plane? Like
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
able to walk back and forth. Okay.
Jump attacking wasn't a thing though. Every time you jump, you like jumped across the screen. Think of like Bison's like Devil's Reverse, but if it whiffs, it just goes across the screen and you don't
Got
really
it.
do anything.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I used to play that a lot when I was like 6 or 7 years old in the arcades. I played the crap out of it. And so I was just kind of naturally drawn to it. And then like Street Fighter 1 came out, and I remember playing those with the little hydraulic pressure sensitive buttons.
Yeah.
Being like 7 or 8 years old, and I was completely enamored by it. And those buttons hurt. I was so young, I had to use my elbows. Like this, trying to hit the heavy buttons. And the first time I saw someone throw like a fireball, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" Right? How do you do that? And no one knew how to do it. We were just mashing. But we figured it out, the basics of just mashing like down, like quarter circle motions. So basically we're just mashing down to forward, back to down, and buttons. And we're just getting random dragon punches and fireballs and melting their health away. And it was the most amazing thing ever. Street Fighter 1 is trash. Let's not forget that. But it was still amazing. And I always played it. Even when they converted to 6 buttons, all the way up to Street Fighter 2. Every time I saw one in the arcade, I always played it.
Wow. That's
And
quite the
even then,
history.
yeah, and even then, like on the NES, there would be like some random 1v1 games that were like really rude, and I would play those. I don't know. There's just something about it that I was always drawn to. And then when Street Fighter 2 came out, no one knew it existed. It just showed up.
Yeah.
And our arcade, Metro Midway, Jeff in your first episode mentioned that place. I remember they got like one cabinet, and I was like, "What is this?" It was like the most amazing thing. It was like a euphoric experience, and I was hooked immediately. And then I lived down the street from there, and I went back there like 2 days later. Next thing you know, there's like 6 cabinets.
Got it.
And
So that's
never
when the
seen
wave
that.
hit. Then I get it.
It hit
Yeah.
really fast. It hit super fast, and just never stopped from there, man.
Wow. That's a hell of
And
an
I
origin story,
played
man.
other games. I played other games, but
Yeah.
there's something about that. It just, that genre has always captured me since
Wow.
its very inception. I don't know why. It just does. Love it.
Yeah, some people, they just have that, that competitive spirit in them, and like there's always like that genre that just kind of hits with them, whether
Well,
it's fighting games or
it wasn't really about being competitive, because remember when I was playing Yu Kung Fu, it was only one player, but I was still enamored by it.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about competition. And to be honest, when I first started playing like Street Fighter 2, and then when the competitive aspect really hit, I didn't really look at it as a competitive thing. I was 12 years old. I was barely 12 years old when World War came out in the arcade, right? And you're 12. You come from a pretty poor household. You only got so much money, right?
Yeah.
You enjoy playing the game, but at the same time, you only got so much money. So the goal wasn't to be better than everybody. The goal was to spend less money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
that correlates with winning, but not completely 1-to-1, right? And if anything, like
right.
I think there's like a problem solving aspect to it too. If you're talking about, trying to find out what that hidden special move was in Street Fighter 1 and figuring out how to do a dragon punch for the first time and stuff like that, and replicating that and then using that on other people. I imagine there's like, that's where the tech monster in you started driving too, right?
It all ties together, because you don't want to spend any money. So you're going to find any exploit you can to stay on that machine. Right. And then that, obviously, intrinsically, it ties into finding tech, finding ways to beat the opponent. It all just ties together, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, my goal was, I just love playing the game, win or lose. But I ultimately wanted to win, because I only had so much money.
Yeah.
So I had to fight my ass off for every quarter I had. And that was really my goal, And I mean, even when tournaments first started up, I didn't care about tournaments. My mom is the one that got me into it.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first tournament signups I would see were at like Wonderland Nickel Palace. And me and my friends would go to the Dollar Theater. Super Saver Cinema was on 35th Avenue in Glendale. And we'd always go like movie hop all day over there. And then at the end of the day, we'd go to Nickel Palace, which was right next door. It only cost like $1.50 to get in. And then everything was off nickels. So it was amazing. And they had a World Warrior cabinet there. And I always remember they'd have like a placard on the marquee talking about tournaments, and I always ignored it. I didn't care. I just
Yeah.
wanted to play. Right. That's all I did. And it wasn't until one day, it wasn't till CE hit when I really started to get into it. Because I remember I was at Metro when I started frequenting Metro Midway more, and my game was I was getting really good at the game. My mom was there because I always went there whenever my mom went shopping. She'd give me like $1 or $2 while she goes shopping,
Yeah.
you know, and she would come down to come get me at the end when she was done. And then one of the workers came to me. He's like, "Hey, we're having a tournament this Saturday. You know, you're pretty good. We'd like you to come." And it's like, and my mom was there, and I was like, "No, wasn't interested. I just wasn't interested."
How old were you at this time? At this point,
I was 12.
12. Okay.
I didn't care about it. It just didn't really enter my brain. It wasn't a competitive aspect to me, even though I like to win. It just didn't really register in my brain, I guess. And my mom, she knew I was good, because she knew I was playing that stuff all the time. And she just looked at me and was like, "I could drive you."
Oh,
And so I did, and it was a big bracket too. Yeah.
that's kind of rare to hear about. It's like a supportive parent from that era.
Yeah,
like
she was
supportive
totally
for video games, at least.
Yeah.
She was totally supportive. So I entered. I mean, I was obviously, everything is a little bit of a blur because I was so young, but I do remember placing. It was a very big bracket. I do remember placing with my CE Ken in a sea of Guiles and Bisons.
Yeah.
Because we knew even back then that those two were freaking crazy.
How old was the average competitor at that tournament, out of curiosity? Were you on the younger side?
Yes, I was definitely on the younger side. I was the youngest that placed as high as I did. I want to say I either got third or fourth.
Oh wow. Okay.
And and Jeff will probably tell you, man, some of these brackets were freaking huge. We had 10 cabinets there. It was popping. There was always lines on every cabinet. It was so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and that really started because I won a bunch of tokens off that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I could make something out of this.
Yeah, like this is how I'm gonna fund my gaming habit.
Yeah.
I mean, because otherwise, when I was funding my gaming habit, I'm sorry, Mom, but I would go in there and steal money so I can go to the arcade and play.
Outed in 2022. Oh no.
Oh, dude, the things we did, we would go to I know this is definitely going to show my age other than all the other things I already said. But me and my friends, we would go to payphones and vending machines and go into the change feeder, see if there's any coins and I don't recommend anyone doing this, dude. We go find cars in parking lots with the windows rolled down and steal change out of the cars.
People really like video games.
It was real back then. You knew you had a problem when you were doing all that. I mean, we would sit on the corner of the convenience store because convenience stores had Street Fighter 2 everywhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, the access to Street Fighter 2 before SNES was huge. I had 3 of them within a 2-minute walking distance. And dude, if we couldn't find it, man, we'd sit on the corner like we were bums, man. Got a quarter?
Oh,
got a quarter? Bro, we didn't care, bro. We didn't care. No shame. No shame at all, man. But that's what we did. How about
we take a wider look at your fighting game career now that we've zeroed in on Street Fighter 2? But could you give us a high level overview of the list of games that you've played competitively?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's a long list, I know. We thought we'd get you started sooner rather than later.
I mean, so I guess I wouldn't count World Warrior because I never played in a tournament now, but I was playing at as high level as I could. But I mean, all the Street Fighter 2s, really all the way up to Hyper Fighting, because Super Street Fighter 2, I absolutely hated that game upon release, and I quit. I didn't even play Super Turbo when it came out. I didn't even care. I was done with Street Fighter at the time. But I was heavy into MK1, MK2, MK3, UMK3, Killer Instinct, Killer Instinct, which I'm pretty well known for.
Yeah.
I was good at all those games. I've definitely won events in all those. And then eventually I came back to the Capcom side. Well, then I had a stint where I was on X Band a lot on Super NES, playing a lot of Super Street Fighter 2 and
Okay.
mainly KI on there, winning tournaments on there because they did online tournaments there. And I was on there all the damn time. It was amazing.
That's
And
CyberCrip, right?
yeah. And
That's
and we were in a crew. We were in a crew called UD Upper Division. We were basically the best clan on there, hands down. And Capcom brought me back. I remember one day I logged into X Band. They always had this thing called X News or called bandwidth news or something like that. And I remember logging in one day and it talked about how X-Men versus Street Fighter was just released in arcade. I'm like, what? What is that? That sounds like the most amazing thing ever because I was huge on the X-Men cartoon at the time.
Yeah.
And I was on Fox and all that. And I immediately went to the arcade. I was like, please have it. Because arcades were on the downcline at the time. This was 1996.
Decline, yeah.
And I was on it was steadily going down. Metro Midway was closed. It turned into a Namco Cyber Station after that. Definitely not the same.
But like X-Men and Capcom didn't seem like a very likely pairing at that time too, right?
Right. And
culture icons.
And Marvel was struggling at the time. I'm sure Capcom got the license for super cheap. It was probably pennies on the dollar, I'm sure. But I got it. I got there and they had one. And I was in love with that game. Like it brought me back to the Capcom side.
Okay.
And that's where I met a lot of the newer scene because I kind of fallen off the arcade scene a little bit because of X-Band. It was so good. And plus I moved farther away from all the usual arcades. I moved at the time. Sure. So it was a little harder for me to get there and I couldn't drive it because I was too young. And that's where I met like a lot of, that's where I met people like Dan Light. I met Cigar Bob and all that. That's when I really Dogface, the legendary Dogface for people that know, and other people. And these are basically where the pillars of like the current day FGC like really started. It really started with X-Band and X versus Street Fighter.
Okay.
A lot of the mainstays started from there. Okay, we all came together from there.
I remember talking to Jeff about it, and he would mention that there was tournaments that were run by the arcades, but at that time, at that point, the arcades were kind of dying, and so it sounded like in Tucson he was running tournaments as well on his own, and that sounds like around that era, I guess.
Yeah. So I during the later era, like throughout the mid '90s and stuff, I wasn't really entering tournaments. There just wasn't really any going on that I was aware of, especially since I moved. I wasn't able to go to Metro Midway as much. It was just depending if my brother went or if I just happened to be in the area. Also went a lot to Valley West Mall. Great games over there. That was a hot spot for me. Lots of interesting interactions there. Dangerous interactions. But lots of them. I have stories for days on dangerous interactions with guns and all that stuff. It's crazy. But I wasn't like really entering anything during that time. And then I went to the military in 1997. So I actually stopped playing for the most part for like a good 2-3 years because I was in Germany and I didn't know. Okay. Yeah, and I didn't know where to go.
You were a true world warrior at that point.
You got to understand, the internet was still in its infancy at the time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in another country, foreign language, and all that. Luckily, I found like a couple people, and that's when I started learning games like Tekken 3. Like I played Tekken a little bit casually, but I never really was into it. But then Tekken 3 came out, and I got really hardcore into that. Tekken Tag, I got really hardcore into. And then when I came back stateside in 2000, I was in North Carolina. I consider them like my second FGC. There's the North Carolina crew. That's when I really got into Alpha 3 2 years after it came out.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even play it when it first came out. My favorite game of all time. I didn't even play it when it came out because I was overseas. I never. Yeah. I got it on PlayStation 1, but I had no one to play with, so I just kind of whatever.
That's not the same thing, yeah.
Right.
Hang on. So did you miss Alpha 2 as well when it came out?
I did miss Alpha 2. Alpha 2 you couldn't find anywhere. The only place I knew that had it was Video Roundup VR.
Huh.
And I couldn't access that place very well until I started meeting like Cigar Bob and Dogface and all that. But I very rarely went there. and no other place had Alpha 2. Hell, I couldn't even find Alpha 1 anywhere. It was just Street Fighter was dead.
I get you.
Yeah.
It really was. It was all Mortal Kombat and Tekken at that point, and
Yeah.
KI. And yeah, so Alpha 2, I didn't really heavily get into Alpha 2 until I got into the really super Illuminati closed test version of GGPO, like 2 years before,
Oh,
like 2
okay.
years before it came public. I think it was just me and like 10 other people in there.
Was this before or
Oh.
after Alpha 3? In your
This is
timeline?
yeah, this is like 2004, 2005. But
Okay.
anyway, so when I was in backup, I was in North Carolina, and I got really hardcore to Alpha 3 because there was a good Alpha 3 scene there. And then I was also when CVS 1 came out and Marvel 2 came out, and I was playing all at Tekken Tag. I was playing all that stuff. And Charlotte was pretty close to us, like an hour away, and that was one of the test locations for Capcom.
Oh, okay.
And so we did get to play Marvel 2 really early there.
Nice.
And but yeah, so I was playing all that. There were some tournaments there, so I was getting re-established with tournaments.
Oh, speaking of the like Charlotte and the east side, like when you were there, like who are some of the players that you met on that side, like that people might know now, like as the OGs from
the best player that was definitely in that region was my friend Kevin Michaels. He goes by name Jabroni Kenshin. Love that guy. I haven't seen him in so long. I mean, we still talk every once in a while, but we played a lot. But
awesome
he's a really good OG player, even though he never really traveled outside of the region. But he's exceptional in a lot of games. So I look at guys like him. There was another person who was amazing at Tekken. He actually went to Tekken Nationals for Tekken Tag 1. And his name was Jive Turkey Jones. That's a funny name. But he was really good. He had a really strong Hwarong, really good Hwarong Bayek team. And he made it to Nationals and everything. He was really good.
Nice.
Really good Tekken player. And now he's actually a really good third strike player. He used to play with so he would play with like Jibbo Automatic and all them.
Sure.
Yeah, even though I never met Automatic when I was out there, we all know the exact same people.
Oh, that's
he was
cool.
from the same place.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just in the same place at different times. But
gotcha.
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that place is great, man. North Carolina, lots of great players. We knew a guy, I think his name was Toby. He actually had an Alpha 3 cabinet. So we got to go there, play a lot. That was fun. Yeah, so I played a lot of CVS 1 there, Marvel 2. I don't want to say like I took credit for it, but I want to say I may have found a Snapback Infinite in Marvel 2.
Oh, really?
Like it was without the Snapback, but I learned how to infinite. I learned that you can infinite your
assist after you catch it.
Assist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I like. Yeah, and then CVS 1, I made EX Rog. I like to say I was one of the reasons that EX Rog became like super broken in CVS 1. Everyone was using normal Rog. I used EX Rog. You could pick alternate versions of the characters, different sets. And I picked EX Rog, and everyone was sleeping on it. And I'm like, nah, man, it's like the best character in the game, and no one believed it. And then B5 comes around, and that's what everyone was using.
Wow.
No one believed me because I was still kind of like not a name in the scene, in the grand like national scene. Even though I was on IRC, but I hadn't proven myself yet, even though I was finding out a lot of stuff, you know.
At that point, a lot of people hadn't thought of Arizona in general, right?
Right.
On the national scene. Okay.
And it really wasn't until like B5 in 2001 when I started really, I guess, gaining some clout within the scene. I started getting to know everybody like a lot better. You know, like Vi Watson, Seth Killian, James Chen, all those guys.
A lot of the big names that are still relevant to the FGC today, right?
Yeah, it was the first time I played Daigo and Boss.
Wow.
And Alpha 3 and Jason Cole, just everybody, man. Yeah, that was an experience. Yeah. And then after that, and that was around the time when like Rick was running his tournaments in Arizona.
Okay.
So that's when I was really starting to get my feet wet really hard in tournaments again. So
Okay. So
and then we
CVS
just kinda
2
worked
was
with them.
around that era then. CVS 2.
Yeah.
Did you play any of the
CVS
Guilty
1,
Gear
CVS 2.
games that were out at that time?
I did. I played a little bit of Guilty Gear X on Dreamcast. I kind of introduced a lot of people to that. I didn't play XX at all until Slash, which is so you have Vanilla, Reload, and then Slash. I started playing that with like Raph, Gabe Scrub,
Sure.
and Dan Light and Japan Negro. They used to play him a lot. He was really good. I missed Aaron, I missed that guy. I don't know where he's at, but I missed that guy. I used to play a lot with those guys. I got decent at it. Never great, but I got decent at it. And that was also at the same time when I was starting to take Third Strike seriously, which I hated for like the longest time.
What year is this around when you started playing?
2002, 2003.
Okay. So before the Daigo Parry then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Too Tall would always play. We'd go to Raph's house and they would play. It'd be on, or go to Cigar Bob's place. It'd be on rotation. It'd only be on rotation because Too Tall wanted to play, and no one else wanted to. And eventually, I could never gel with the game. I tried for years. It just didn't click. And then I accidentally picked Remy one day, like one of the worst characters of the game, and it just clicked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that character clicked with me for some reason. He was my gateway into Third Strike.
Did you play any of the other Street Fighter 3 series before Third Strike? Like
no, I remember VR back in '96 getting Street Fighter 3, and I went there with Dan and Mitsu and Cigar Bob, and they had it on the big screen there, and didn't like it. Just didn't like it. Went back to X vs Street Fighter immediately.
Got it.
And I was like, well, this looks nice, but I'm like, this feels slow.
Yeah. I want to revisit that at some point. I want to revisit
what you're thinking of. It feels slow, and I'm like, didn't understand the parries, just didn't understand the meta at all. It was so wildly different than anything we had played, and it just didn't make sense. And
that was a very common mindset at the time, from what I'm hearing from all the OGs, is that new generation dropped, and a lot of folks just didn't like it, right?
Let me tell you, man, that game, Capcom was really on an ego trip at that time because they came out with that game and like the marquee just said 3.
I've seen
it didn't say Street Fighter, it just said 3. I'm like, you have to have some type of ego to make a marquee like that. People will just know. And then you were going to try to do that without Ryu or Ken because they weren't supposed to be in the game.
Yeah.
And you're doing it in the 3D age, bro.
Yeah.
Talk about a misfire.
Yeah, no, you talking about that stuff. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you talking about that stuff, like the arcade that I went to in Anchorage, or there's 2 arcades in the biggest mall that was there, and there was one arcade that you were talking about, like how Alpha was kind of afterthought, like Street Fighter 3. That's kind of how it looked in that arcade too. Like you'd walk in, they'd have a big cab like right there for like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 or whatever it was, right? The latest Mortal Kombat. Yeah. There'd be the little like skinny cab for like Alpha. I think I saw Alpha 1 at one point. And then on the other side, there's another big cab with the X-Men versus Street Fighter or Marvel Superheroes, whatever was out at that time. And those were the big games. And then the Alpha and then like Street Fighter 3. Like I remember just kind of seeing those just in the middle of nowhere, right? Like they weren't like the attraction when you walked into that arcade. So it was just you talking about that. I was like, that made me just think of that exactly when I walked in there. It was like Mortal Kombat, X-Men versus Street Fighter, and that's what I saw. That's what I was drawn to.
Yeah, at that time, it was like in '96. It was all X-Men versus Street Fighter. It was UMK 3. It was KI 2. It was Tekken 3. Street Fighter 3 was just like we found it in like 2 places. One VR, one was at Metro, and it was on the shittiest cabinet. Excuse my language, sorry.
No worries.
And no one played it. No one played it at all. It was ignored, and then I don't think we ever got Second Impact anywhere. And by the time I was already out of the country anyway, so I'd never seen it. So and then even when Third Strike came out, I think Castles and Coasters got it, and no one played it. So I only played it. What's that?
I was gonna say back at that time, that's when like Soul Edge or whatever came out too. I think
it was all 3D at the time, man.
Yeah,
it was all 3D, bro. Yeah, it was all 3D, but I eventually got into Third Strike after hating it for a few years, and that ended up being my main game for a while because Alpha 3 died because let's be honest, whenever Evo doesn't support a game, it dies.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And Alpha 3 was probably one of the biggest games at B5, which you would say is basically Evo 2001 before it was called Evo. And then Evo 2002, it got delegated to a 5v5 special event only.
Oh,
That killed the
okay.
game. That killed
so
the game.
no one ran a side tournament for it, or just no one
No.
cared enough to?
We had a side tournament. It was to qualify into the 5v5 versus Japan.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't an actual tournament. CVS2 had officially, they just decided CVS2 is the successor.
So your big three at that point are Marvel 2, CVS 2, and Street Fighter 3 or Third Strike. Those are your big three.
Yeah. I was playing those mostly at that time. Yeah.
Or sorry, I mean Evo's big three. Those are
Oh
the
no, not even
little
no.
diamonds,
Third Strike.
right?
Third Strike wasn't even at that tournament. It was only in the 5v5 also.
Oh, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah, same thing. It wasn't. It was not an official tournament until 2003.
Wow. Okay.
Like I said, you've mentioned it before. Tokido versus Justin is
Mhm.
really what kick-started the Third Strike revolution in the U.S.
And what year was that? That was before. Was
That
that
was
before
in
or after the
2002.
Perry?
No, that was
2003.
2002. That was a 2002 5v5.
Oh, you
Okay.
said you said
Oh, it was in the
Tokido, you meant-
5v5. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. There was no tournament for that except to qualify to get to the 5v5.
Yeah, so for the background for our listeners, we're not talking about the Daigo Perry. We're talking specifically about a matchup between Tokido's Urian and Justin Wong's Chun-Li. And it was early on in Third Strike's lifespan, right?
Our meta, our knowledge of the meta was basically just pick Chun, back fierce until you get meter, and low forward fireball or low forward super to death, right? Which still holds up, right?
Right.
But we didn't know anything about Ganejin because Mester was there. We never seen Ganejin before with Yun, and we sure as hell never saw Tokido. Well, Tokido doesn't even play Third Strike.
he learned
But he knew
the
the Aegis unblockables. We never seen it before, right? And so we're just sitting back building meter, and we're just, if you listen to us, we're just kind of laughing in the background. We're like, yeah, typical Third Strike, just sit back, build meter, blah, blah, blah. It was a joke. Yeah. It was a total joke to us. And then when Tokido just like went nuts and did the unblockables, we're like, excuse me? And then we saw Mester. Because like Mike Watson using Yun, he was using SA2 Yun, and which is still a good super, but it's no good Asian. And Soul Rider Rengeki or whatever. And when we saw Mester use Geneja, we're just like, again, we're like, excuse me, what is this? And then he would take half your life, and 2 seconds later, you have it again. I'm like, what is this? And then that it wasn't the Daigo Perry, it was that stuff that blew up Third Strike.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was just the Daigo Perry that took it to the next level.
That was like a momentum. That happened in 2004, if I recall correctly, right?
Daigo Perry happened in 2004. The Tokido thing happened in 2002. Evo became an actual mainline tournament game in 2003.
Got it. Because of the hype from the 5v5. Okay. That's super cool.
Absolutely.
So moving forward then, so you played Third Strike, and that was your main game for a little while. What happened after that?
Dark Ages.
Dark Ages.
Dark Ages. It was rough. Dark Ages were rough, man. And to the misconception of the Dark Ages is people think that there's no games coming out, which that was further from the truth. There was a lot of games coming out. There just was nothing coming out on the Capcom side unless you count Capcom Fighting Jam. But we don't talk about that here. The Dark Ages, for people that don't know, reference that we were not experiencing any growth in the scene.
Sure.
We were stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
But we were getting games that just weren't picking up many new players.
Yeah.
We didn't have online. It was just totally niche.
Yeah, you needed a killer app basically, and it sounded like there was like 3D was trucking along at that time, right? Like the calibers and
3D. Soul Calibur and Tekken was selling well casually, but like tournaments. No one was going to them at all. I mean, the biggest up before Street Fighter 4 hit us, I want to say like the biggest tournament had like maybe 400 people for Third Strike. That was it. It peaked. We never went beyond that number. Usually like the high 300s mostly. I'm rounding off to 400. I don't think we ever went 400 though. and then but like Street Fighter 4 was the boost to get us out of that rut.
So when were you first exposed to Street Fighter 4?
2008 at the Seth Killian at the time. He was organizing these random fight clubs. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you were. I know I
wasn't
didn't know
around for
you at the
that, yeah.
time, but I didn't
Yeah.
know if you
Yeah.
knew about it. So when they announced it and all that, a couple months before the arcade release, or right when the arcade released, he had organized a couple fight clubs, like one in New York and then one in Southern California, one in LA, and they would just find like some rundown building. And then,
Oh, like it was
graffiti.
actually street themed then, huh? Okay.
They would graffiti the inside, get DJs in there, and
Oh,
they would just
wow.
put and swag bags, and they would put like a bunch of Velix cabinets in there with Street Fighter 4 in there, head to head, and you would show up. I mean, it was packed.
Yeah.
And we played that for like 5 hours, but I mean, you'd have to wait like 40 minutes to play. But
Wonder what that's like.
it was hype. And when we went, it was with me, it was with Abe, Seth3S, and Rock. We all three of us went. Well, we went specifically because Family Fun had an SBO qualifier for Third Strike, and it happened to be the same weekend, so we did both.
Oh, that's tight. Okay. So
yeah, I never heard about those fight clubs, so that's really interesting.
Yeah. So like a lot of people were there. It was me, like Edma, Jason Cole, Vi Watson, like Seth was there, obviously, because he was running it. Just like anyone you could think of from SoCal, Combo Fiend, all those people, they were all there. And just trying to figure out. I remember my very first match was against Edma in his Ryu.
Edma, known for his Akuma in Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, I used Ryu and I used Sagat.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I hit it right at the bat. I used Ryu and Sagat in that game right at the beginning.
Real quick for the timeline here. So was this before or after Street Fighter 4 was released in Japan arcades?
It wasn't released yet. It wasn't released.
So this is a load test then, basically, when you're taking your feedback and stuff.
It was basically the final version though. It was right before it launched.
Okay, so
it was right before it launched in Japanese arcades, and then in July is when Evo 2008 happened, and those very same cabinets made its way to Evo.
Wow.
Four setups, and I basically played on that all weekend. And also got really salty because I was one win away from getting top 8 in Super Turbo. Top 8's always eluded me in Evo. I think I've eluded top 8 like 3 times.
Yeah. Speaking of Evo and Street Fighter 4, you basically have like your own Evo moment with Sakura. Like, I know it was gonna be brought up at some point. It's just like,
no, it's fine. It's fine.
And it's for me, like, that's a big thing because I'm a 09er. I went to my first tournament locally in Alaska, got second place at that, and met those guys, found out about the FGC. They talked about Evo, and I was like, what's Evo? That was my first time tuning in, the stream and whatever, all that stuff. And to kind of set the stage, it's like, so there was it had to be before the main tournament, right? They did the exhibition, a 5v5 exhibition. They had like Team NorCal, Team SoCal. You were part of Team Wildcard, right?
Right. And to add to that, I was team captain of Team Southwest.
Oh, really?
I was on 2 teams basically.
Oh yeah, I think I know why. I remember this story.
Yeah, so I was the team captain of Southwest. They had selected me, and that was basically us, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and I think it was just us 3. Maybe Colorado. I don't know.
Texas was very relevant.
Vegas too.
Oh, Vegas. Okay.
Vegas. Yeah, I can't remember if Colorado was part of us. I can't remember. So then on that Thursday before that Evo started, we ran we had to do a quick and dirty tournament to decide who the top 5 was. And it was single win. We had to do it quick. And I ended up not making it on my team. Fubar Duck got me with some new Japanese tech called a Vortex. With Akuma.
So to be clear here, you were the captain of the Southwest team, and to decide the entire roster of that team, 5 slots, you decided to take the top 5 from a tournament.
I didn't want any bias. I didn't want any bias.
Not even for yourself.
Okay. I don't think it was the best way to make the team.
Yeah.
I think the best way to make the team is to pick, but I wanted to eliminate any bias.
Yeah. I buy that.
I got you.
So it was just the only way to do it. I wanted to do double limb and all that, but we couldn't. We just didn't have time. And so Fubar Duck eliminates me with cross up Tatsu stuff. And it was close though, but he got me.
So how'd you get put on like the wildcard team? Was that just kind of like put together?
So so what had happened is we were doing the Street Fighter 4 that day. We were doing pools. I actually got eliminated in my pool. I was really pissed off. I got DQ'd because PS3 woes, Bluetooth controller stuff,
Yep.
Yeah.
and I got DQ'd. They said it was my fault that I paused it because it said it was me. It said it was player 2 or whatever,
Yeah, people were
And I
still
was
feeling
like,
that out
it
back
wasn't,
then.
bro.
Yeah.
I was on a Mad Cat stick, bro. It had the lock button.
Yeah.
It was someone else, but
Yeah,
a lot of inexperience, right? So I got DQ'd, and I was really furious, and I ended up tanking. Wasn't happy because I was really out on a mission on that one that year, and so I was really pissed off, and that ended. I think I was like one win away to getting out of pools, and I think that would have put me in like top 64, top 128. I don't know. I don't remember how it was. This is before 2010 with the 128 man pools. Where pools
yeah.
yeah. So I was talking with the cannons where we were all figuring out what to do for the 5v5, which was taking place that same night.
Yeah.
And I told them who I got on the team, and they wanted, for the wild card, they wanted Juicebox because he had done really well that year. He got like 9th. He almost made top 8. I think he lost to Sanford. And so I was like, oh shit. Like, okay, yeah, let me go call him up. The tournament already ended and I didn't know where he's at. So I called him up and I was like, hey, he's like, where you at? They want you in the 5v5. They want to put you on wild card. And he's like, I already went back to the hotel. He stayed off site at another hotel. Yeah. And I'm sure he had a ride and all that stuff, so he could easily come back. So I was like, oh, like, okay. Like, well, we can't get him. So I'm like, I mean, I guess I could play.
Yeah. So the wild card team though was supposed to be like oddball characters, and at that time you played a console exclusive character in Sakura, right? And Juicebox also played Abel, which is not a very commonly seen character during that time, right?
Yeah. So the cannons were like, that's right, you play Sakura, right? Like, yeah, we put you on a team. So it was like me, Mike Ross. Who was it? Me, Mike Ross, Dagger G. Was he on the team? Yeah, Dagger G was on the team.
I think
Sheng Chang. No, Jibbo was in Team South.
Oh, okay. Because I remember Gen. He played Gen on that one.
I had to fight him.
Okay.
And I can't remember who the last person was. But yeah, so we're on that team, and we had to fight Team South first, and my first opponent was Jibbo.
Oh, fair enough.
And we were playing on stage, and that was the year of the Evo monitor, the old VH236H Asus monitor.
Still got them.
And I got one in the room. It still works really well. It still works just fine for 1080p 60 stuff. But for some reason on the stage that weekend, they used a bigger monitor, a different model, and they used that for all of Evo on the stage, and it lagged.
Oh, I didn't know that part. So
I felt it immediately. I had to immediately change my game plan, my combos, my combo routes and everything for that.
So did you go for resets more often because of the lag and you just didn't believe in your combos, or?
No, not necessarily, but like I was going for a simple short jab cross fierce EX.
Got it.
I wasn't trying to do short Tatsu link in the stand short into fierce DP. Because if I miss that stand short link, I'm screwed.
Yep.
Right.
That's a one frame.
So
close to a one frame, right?
I wouldn't go for that. So first set I played against Jibbo. I actually lose against that. And I was doing combos. That's why I was feeling out the monitor. I'm like, oh, this is a little janky. And then the next set is when we played Team West Coast, and that was when all the stuff happened. And I played Gutex. If you really look back at it, it was really sloppy play from everyone. It was just we couldn't react to things. Plus, it was also in the honeymoon phase of Street Fighter 4 still.
Yeah, people were still figuring out stuff.
Yeah, and that's when I was doing the no mix-up stuff on Gutex, where I kept staying in front the whole time and shimmying him and all that. And then after that, that's why I played Valle and then that. And again, the lag thing is the reason why the Matrix moment happened.
Yeah, to set the stage on what the Matrix moment was is Saber was doing a combo, and during the combo it dropped and he did a low forward into light Tatsu, and at that
No,
time was it
I'll tell you what
light
it was.
Tatsu? Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you what it was. So I had him in the corner. I had Vi in the 2-player corner, and I already knew at that time that I was not confident in getting my links on that monitor.
Yeah.
So what I did, I got a jump in on him. I got a clean jump in on him if I remember right, and I do like crouch fierce into short Tatsu, right, in all combos, and then to finish the combo, you could just do standing light kick and do fierce DP for the knockdown. Well, I
Right.
wasn't confident in doing that, so I did standing light kick in the Tatsu, in the heavy Tatsu. But what I did is I did I actually it was the meter option select. I went for an EX Tatsu. So if my link missed, I'm still plus on block. If my combo drops, he's gonna block my EX Tatsu. I'm still safe and I'm in his face still, right?
Yeah.
So I went for the safe route. And I didn't have enough meters, so I did the Tatsu, regular Tatsu instead.
Mm-hmm.
Vi knew this. He knew that there was a gap there. If he knew if you missed that short, you're getting DP'd or whatever. He knows the holes there, right? Because if you watch in the set, he already stopped me once, right?
Yeah.
And I already knew this as well. And so so you did see the stand short. He blocks the stand short, so my combo didn't go through. I dropped it, and the Tatsu happened. Next thing you know, he supers, and my Tatsu's just going slow motion over the super, and unfortunately, the footage is lost. The stream caps. That's what Dogface was commentating. Oh, straight out of the Matrix, like super hype. And ironically, IGN was doing direct feed captures of all that, like 1080p captures, and for some reason, that set was lost.
Aw, that's a bummer.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people modern day know that from the JM Cross video that he put out
recently.
And I remember in that video he actually supposes, did Saber drop his combo on purpose to reset and dodge the fireball that he knew was coming? And now he can put that to rest.
No, but but one thing I can't tell you is that I knew because Vi, he kind of mashes. He's a masher.
Yeah.
Shout out to Vi level, but he'll mash some input sometimes. And I know he was mashing DP super. And if the DP came out, he would have got me.
Yeah, so he wasn't trying to do the super. He was trying to do Dragon
DP
Punch,
into super.
Right.
He wanted DP into super. And then that's when I got the momentum. I won that round, and then that's when the corner shenanigans on the first player side happened.
Yep.
And that was new tech I found like literally 2 days before Evo, where I jump over the corpse.
Yeah.
And I could choose which way. That's like the hardest mix up the block.
Because
all I gotta do is micro step left or right to choose which side I want to be on when I land. But it doesn't work on every character. But it works with Shotos.
Which is who you were fighting. And Rog too, right?
No, I don't remember if it works on Rog because I didn't do it on him.
Oh, okay.
All my mix-ups were mid-screen against Gutex. They're all mid-screen mix-ups.
Was it like the jab air reset and the dash under stuff, right?
Yeah. The more simple stuff that everyone already knew. But yeah, and that was crazy because that's when things I knew felt really changed in the scene. Because after that, man, people were coming up asking me to sign sticks and autographs. And I'm like, what is this? It was really weird. I didn't know how to handle that. I was just like, okay. And I immediately after that night, I did an interview on the Dogface show.
Yeah.
Which you want to know what sucks about that irony? So
not only did my footage.
Yep.
Oh, sorry to kill your story.
Yep, it was lost. It was lost.
That
so
sucks.
Not only did IGN lose Wildcard versus West Coast footage, they all are footage for Dogface shows. That episode, the hard drive got corrupted.
Oh man,
we salvaged a little bit. I don't know where the footage is. There is a little bit of it out there. I think that was the last episode too of Dogface show.
So I had the opportunity to see that show as well as I told this story on the last episode or the previous episode before that, but seeing that happen live on stream, like at that time it was streamed on Justin TV or something, specifically Saber's Matrix moment and that whole wildcard thing, and as well as the Dogface show actually helped get me out into the scene. But I do remember actually seeing that same episode, and one of the questions they asked you was, "What is your favorite movie, SabreAZ?"
Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 2? You think it'd be
Oh,
like
that-
like Predator or Die Hard or Prey
Oh,
now,
yeah,
I guess, but
I remember Victor says like he's like Toy Story 2 is like, man, I've had guys like Alex Valle on here and they talk about their favorite movies like Training Day. And I'm like, yeah, that was up there. I mean, I don't know if that's my same answer anymore, but I really loved Toy Story 2 at the time, and I wasn't afraid to admit that.
Let's do a time capsule. What is your favorite movie right now in 2022?
Probably
Compare.
Terminator 2. Terminator 2. I love that movie.
Okay. Tastes have changed. Toy Story 2 and Terminator 2 are kind of similar though. Similar in theme. It's about family.
Yeah, as in they both have 2 at the end of the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back before that was popular.
But I know I love Toy Story. I love the series. I'm a huge fan of that. But yeah, I'd say Terminator 2 is my favorite.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say, going back to that Evo moment, just like John, like that was a huge thing for me because like I said, I was an 09er. I learned about the FGC, right? I started looking at stuff, and I looking up history. I heard about Valle Daigo. Like to me, like I looked at Valle as everybody, Mr. Street Fighter, right? That was a dude, and then to watch that exhibition, and then like see you go up there, and I was just like, oh, who the hell's this guy? And I don't remember at the time if I was talking to friends about moving to Arizona at the time, but it started this whole thing where I was just like, man, I'm going to be moving to a place where that guy is, and
Yeah,
he's involved in
that's so crazy because, like, you know what? When we got back for that Evo, I was living with Cigar Bob at the time, and we went to this Best Buy out in Santan, or no, it was by Apache Junction of all places, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wearing my Evo shirt. It was the blue Evo shirt that had Ryu and Kazuya silhouettes on the back. It was a blue shirt.
Yeah.
And two of the guys that worked there approached me and they spotted me immediately. I'm like, whoa, that is weird. That has never happened before.
They recognized
I don't
you?
think you got to understand before Street Fighter 4, that was not a thing because streaming didn't really exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just opened up everything. That's when I knew that year is just like Street Fighter 4 and that Evo and streaming, all that whole hodgepodge of things that just happened, just changed everything. The perception. Now, because before then, everyone that went to Evo, there were no spectators. Everyone that was at Evo was a player.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, John, Benny, you've gone the last few years. I would argue there's more spectators than players, though.
Yeah, we
by
mentioned
far,
that.
By far, right? It's changed a lot. And that's when I started seeing signs in the crowds that were rooting for people. And I'm like, holy crap, this is different. Now you start getting seen. And I remember when I first met Maynard, the X Button. He met me at my job. He approached me. He's like, "Are you Sabre?" He's like, "Are you Sabre?" I'm like, yeah.
That's funny you mentioned Maynard because Maynard approached me at GoDaddy when I was working there. I was wearing an Evo shirt, and he was just like, "Oh, you play fighting games," and like that's basically where our friendship started off. So
yeah, man, it was really surreal that's what it turned into. Sadly, that was just at a time where I was like, not sadly, I mean, I'm not really not sad about it, but that's when the family life was really taking off, though, and I just
that could have got you at some hot water. Unfortunately, I had to start a family.
No, I mean, unfortunately for playing,
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
It sucked because like I was really entering a new phase in my gameplay. I was like, even though I was entering my 30s, I felt like I was playing better than I ever have. I was just seeing games in a new way. Online was really helping out. It was allowing me to get more games in. Whereas even though it was delay-based netcode, it was really hard to get matches in. Back in the day, you had to really coordinate, right? And I felt like I was entering new levels, and then going into Super Street Fighter, I was like really on it. But all of a sudden, my gaming just kind of had to take a back seat. I mean, I was still competing, obviously, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's when I wasn't able to focus as much. I'd have my pockets where I was focusing really hard, especially on Super Street Fighter 4. I mean, I was gunning really hard at Evo 2010.
Sure.
And I had to do an epic run on that, which I held an Evo record for
most matches played, right?
Most matches won in a row. Until Nemo beat it in like 2015, I think.
Because you went to losers very early, right?
So 2010, I went to losers in first round against RB.
Got it. RB
and that was when
I believe RB's from Singapore. Yeah, Singapore.
Yeah. When he came with GamerB. That's when they were unknown, and I had to face him first round. No one knew who he was. No one knew what game everybody was. And here I am facing this Rufus, and I'm just like, I'm thinking I'm just gonna run through this dude, right? It's first round.
Sure.
And it went to the
Based in
third match.
Singapore, Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Is up.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Yeah.
Yeah. And it went to third match, third round. I think Rick was there when he saw that. I know Rick was there for the rest of my run in that bracket. He watched the whole thing and helped me out. And I lost, and I'm like, I can't believe I lost first round. And this is like the Evo I'm taking the most serious that I ever have, right?
Right.
Because I knew I didn't have much time left. That's how I was looking at it.
That's incredibly morbid.
Well,
he was so old. He was so old. He just didn't have it in him anymore.
Yeah. And I wanted to hit. I was literally my goal was I want to hit top 8.
Yeah,
I want to hit it. It's eluded me once before. I want it. Right.
I can say that as somebody who was playing actively at that time. Like at that point, Sabre had celebrity status. Like everybody was like, "Oh, is that Sabre?" They were like whispered, and then we're wondering how he was going to do at Evo. And he was playing a very unique character in Cody, who was a new to Street Fighter 4, new to Super Street Fighter 4 rather, and basically pioneering a lot for that character. So he had character advantage. He was one of the strongest players in our local scene. So we were all expecting like him to like just explode onto the stage there.
Yeah. So I had a lot of expectation, right? And that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was.
And the fact that I went down first round, my morale just sank.
Yeah.
And
of course, yeah.
so my next match was supposed to be on stream against this guy player. And it was taking forever. So it was taking too long. So then unfortunately, none of my matches got to go on stream. Even though I was supposed to go on there, it was just taking too long. They were running behind because 128 man pools. Every pool is a major. It was a major, right? So I had to run a gauntlet of matches. So I fought the guy player and I barely beat him. He was really good. I barely beat him, right? And next thing you know, I fight some other guys, and then I fight Air from Canada.
Oh, Air. Okay. Very well known.
He destroys me first game. And I adapted and figured it out. And by the end of the set, I had it figured out. And I remember clobbering him in the third match though. I made him really scared to throw fireballs. Like do a low forward fireball, I just interrupt in the middle.
Oh, a Zonk?
Or Ultra 2.
You did. Oh yeah. That was a thing you liked to do back then too.
Yeah. So it shook him. He didn't want to throw fireballs. It just allowed me to gain control of him. Yeah. I'd have to go through Wolf Crone at the time. I went through a bunch of Vipers. Wolf Crone. I had to go through Bucktooth, who was using 2 characters I didn't like playing against at the time, which is Ibuki and Fuerte. Fuerte.
Oh, okay.
It was just a Fuerte. That's the character I was really scared of because it's Fuerte, right? You get randomed out. And I got through him, and then I made it all the way to grand finals
of your pool.
Of the pool. So I went through. I think I won like 12 in a row. I didn't notice it at the time. I wasn't thinking about that. I just wanted to get through. Right. I was on a hot streak, and I got to Li Joe. And for people that don't know, people stopped using Sagat Super Street Fighter 2 because he got nerfed really hard.
Yep.
No one used him anymore, but Joe was a Sagat loyalist. And in Arizona, no one played Sagat anymore.
Right.
So in vanilla, I had all the Sagat experience in the world with Sakura. I wasn't going to lose to a Sagat player with Sakura. And I would always beat him. But go to the Super, now I got Cody. I have no Sagat experience. So me and Joe were dueling it out. It goes to the third round. I'm struggling just trying to neutral jump over his tiger shots because Cody's jump is really low and he's fat. So I was struggling hard. And we're down to the wire. We have no life. And I got Zonk knuckle charged. And all I got to do is hit him once. And I'm sitting outside of his low forward range, and I'm sitting outside of all his ranges. I was like, oh my God, I was like, please throw a tiger shot. I'm going to go right through this thing, right? Just throw a tiger shot. Give me something, right? And son of a bitch, dude, he pulls out a Kara DP. He didn't do a Kara DP at all the whole set. He threw it out that time. And that Kara DP, the forward light kick at a DP,
Yep. It
Yeah.
reaches
comes
really
out pretty
far.
quick and it reaches really far. And I let go of that button. I reacted, but I reacted just a little bit too late. And
So
he got me.
do you think he would have reacted if it wasn't a Kara? Like he might have, like that extra bit of like show with that forward leg kick might have been the twitch that you needed to release it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. But he was out of range for everything else. He was only in range to do fireballs or maybe a sweep, but I was dancing inside and out of that range. And he got it. And I'm just like heads down. Joe is just like popping off, running all over the place, you know.
Man.
And good for him, man. I was clutch. It was like he busted out an option he had not shown the whole set.
Sure.
And I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna bingo right through his damn tiger shot because I in my head I was like, that's the only option he has.
Yeah.
Against me, he's not going to do anything else.
And do you think that Joe knew that you were looking to do a zonk knuckle through stuff, or
he was
that's why
probably
you threw out
thinking
the
about
Kara?
it? He was probably thinking about it. So I ended up at 33rd on that one. Pretty
Just shy, I
upset,
thought
but
32, huh?
that was
Yeah.
out of like 1,700 something people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big tournament that year. I remember spending 9 hours at the venue at my pool.
Dang, that's crazy.
And I only played like 3 times.
But like I said, it was like being at a major. Those pools were like winning a major.
Yep. That was before they broke them down into qualifier pools.
Yeah.
And then Marvel 3 comes out. I got pretty big on Marvel 3. I was playing that quite a bit.
Yeah, you pioneered one of the earliest, like the assist meta of Shenko, which had additional setup when you could have picked Tronbon, but a lot of people didn't know how to fight that. That was the first time I think a lot of people were like, I want to hit buttons, and then that assist would just punish.
She was a total Marvel 2 type assist. She was a Marvel 2 type assist for sure. Just blowing through everything.
Yeah.
Played that. We played that a lot, man.
Yeah.
Up until Ultimate, and then I kind of veered off because Cross Tekken came out, and I was really focused on Cross Tekken because I really love that game, even though Vanilla is a really bad game.
It needed work for sure.
It was still fun.
Yeah, Cross Tekken, you actually hit your stride too, if I recall correctly, as far as competitive stuff, because then you started adapting to, or rather,
I was getting really serious again because the online for it was actually really good. So I was playing a lot online, which worked for my schedule because I couldn't come out as much. But I could play more. So I was doing that a lot more, and then I got picked up by AGE.
That's the big stuff
as a sponsor.
There.
Yeah. After Glow Elite, so I was on the same team as like Snake Eyes, Chris G, Flash Metroid, and stuff. And
Fnatic too, I think.
Fnatic, of course, Fnatic, man. He's that dude.
He's the guy.
Who doesn't forget his shilling of his discount code? And I was playing really serious on that, and then my first one as a sponsor player was NCR 2013, and that was when Cross Tekken 2013 patch came out. It was brand new, and at that time, dude, I got sick that weekend. Not like sick, like contagious. I just had an upset. It was something I ate.
Sure.
It was something I drank. I drank too much V8. And it fucked me up. It screwed me up the whole week. It screwed me up that whole day. Like I was really, I wasn't feeling too well that whole weekend. But I ended up getting 9th in that. I was just short of top 8. I lost to Chris G. To get in the top 8. I lost to Chris G and Justin. Justin won, if I remember. And then I went to UFGT after that. UFGT
that was
8.
the original, not the original, but one of the earlier Chicago tournaments, right?
The precursor to Combo Breaker.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got, was it 4th or 5th?
In Cross? I remember you were very high up there. You were definitely top.
I lost a cool kid who got 2nd, and then I lost to Valle barely. I had that set 1. That's on YouTube. I had that set 1, and then he hit me with a Lars mix up and got me the last set. Oh, damn it. But then, to be fair, I barely beat Arturo. I got him because I clipped his cross assault. So I clipped both of his characters.
Oh, you got a happy birthday?
Yeah, I got a happy birthday to him to win because I was losing. So karma's a bitch, right?
Uh-huh.
So, and then I almost got top 8 Street Fighter 4 somehow. I don't know how I managed that. And then I got top 8 in dive kick too. I think I got fourth or fifth in dive kick. So I had a pretty good year that year. And then Marvel 3, I wasn't doing good because I wasn't playing it anymore. So I didn't really play much in Ultimate because I was pissed that Shenko didn't get buffed at all.
Yeah.
That really bugged me. So I just kind of stopped playing. And
I remember that.
yeah, man. I didn't. That was stupid. And then SCR 2013 was it? That was when Arizona, like half of us were in top 8.
Yeah.
That was like Latif was active at that time too, right? Or no, that was 2012. I can't remember.
Well, Latif made grand finals of Super Street Fighter 4 in 2011.
It was 11? Okay, my bad.
Yeah, it was arcade edition.
Arcade edition, not 2012.
But 2013, I was so it was like me, Rock, Marvin.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't think Abe was there, but I thought it was definitely you three. And then was John there?
Swoops didn't make it. He barely missed it. I think Jelani barely missed it.
Got it.
And I pulled some wins out of my ass that tournament too. I had to fight Chris T, and I was getting my ass handed to me, and I made some miraculous comebacks. But that's what cross tech it is, right? You can be down like no health, and you can make comebacks in 2 touches.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I was pulling those out of my butt in that tournament, and I made top 8, and then Knuckle Dude blew me up. He got a double perfect on me.
Oh wow.
And then I beat him the second game.
He
beat me 2-1. He played Guile Geef.
Guile Geef, right?
And I did not know how to fight those 2 characters at all. No one used them in Arizona, and I just was not familiar with it. And it showed. He wrecked me.
I don't know how you play Geef in Cross Tekken, right? As someone learning it right now, I'm just like, I don't know how this
works. Ironically, I had to play against Coach Steve's Geef over at Evo this year, and he beat me too.
Oh. Coach Steve.
So yeah, I got top 5 there, and then I went to CEO. I can't remember where I placed there. Honestly, I don't remember.
It's funny because you framed this as like the time when you were most dedicated to your family, but now it's also the time when you were most like traveling around with it.
Yeah. and then that happened, and CEO I don't remember, and then we did Evo that year, and well, first of all, when we did vanilla cross tech, and I was teamed up with Too Tall, and we were taking that serious, and that was when it was teams, right?
Yeah, Evo,
right? And we were trying so hard to get top 8, but everyone was cheating.
What?
So when you signed up for cross tech at Evo that year, only one person had to sign up, and you didn't have to. You did not have to say. You did not have to say who your teammate was.
So people were entering under multiple teams, then basically playing multiple times.
Oh, I don't want to name any names, but I saw people playing on multiple teams.
Ooh.
And if I remember right, a couple of them made it into top 8.
I was going to say, did it impact the? Okay.
Oh yeah. These were prominent players.
Dang. This was when collusion was in.
Yeah, and we ended up losing eventually, I think, to a Japanese team. I remember Too Tall getting really upset. I've never seen him so upset in my life at a game. Usually he kind of shrugs it off. So I don't think he really ever takes it too seriously, but this one he took really serious. He was struggling getting me in safely.
Yeah.
So I could never get it. So once he got in, he couldn't get me back in without, taking like 60% damage, Yeah, he was struggling with the alpha counters, which are really hard in that game. So we almost got top 8 that one. And then the next year is when it went singles. And I almost made top 8, but then I lost to MOV. I was running a perfect on MOV in the last set. He used Cami Law, and or Cami Nina, I'm sorry. And I freaking missed an overhead with Law to Link, which is a 1-frame Link.
Yep.
And I kept missing it all week because it's PS3, if I remember right. Yay, PS3. And because 1 to 2 extra frames, extra lag, it varies. I couldn't land it all that weekend, and I missed that Link, and then Nina happened. Nina happened.
Nino known
Got
for
the
doing a
knock-
lot of damage in cross second.
He got the knockdown. He got landed a combo, got the knockdown, and got the ambiguous jump fierce. I didn't block it, and I lost. I was so pissed. So I got 9th on that one, really upset. And then that's when I had to go to AGE and tell them I had to stop because I was going to tournaments every weekend.
Yeah.
And the only time I could see my family was on the weekend.
Yeah.
My wife, she works graveyard. If she's off on weekends, I could never see her and all that. So it was getting really hard, and I had to stop. And that's when you guys started seeing me a little bit less at tournaments.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to really focus hard on that. And man.
That's
And then
that's an
and then I
interesting
stopped-
perspective in that.
And then I stopped going to Evo. I stopped going to majors. I didn't travel anymore.
Yeah. So, So I mean, man, that was a pretty long-winded intro, but I mean, I love it, man. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome, like just hearing all that stuff and like some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. So that was your last Evo. You said that was 2013?
2014. I think 2014.
2014.
I think it was 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. So to be clear, just for everybody listening, right, we have a questionnaire we throw at every guest, and the last question is always, what fighting games have you played competitively? And usually they give us like a 1 or 2 list. I'm pretty sure Scott's answer to that question just now named every fighting game in existence.
I literally played. If there was people playing it, I played it. Like you go to the arcade, like in the arcade era, if there was people playing it, you played it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So every game, I played every game.
Okay,
Maybe except with the exception of Neo Geo games.
Let me finish the questionnaire just for this last one. What was your favorite game of all time out of all of the ones you played competitively?
Alpha 3.
Alpha 3?
Without doubt.
Free?
Even though I have issues, even though the game's got issues, I don't care.
Yeah.
The positives heavily outweigh the negatives. And that includes the infinites. Do I use infinites? Yes. Do I like infinites? No. But it's a part of the game. And they're not guaranteed. Most of the characters are not guaranteed. So you can get out of almost all of them if you know where to look and know how to do it. I love that game because there's so many ways to play it. The footsies are great in that game. There's lots of combos you can do. There's combos in that game that you don't see in any other Street Fighter game because it's very unique. Lots of characters, and contrary to what people say, the balance is actually pretty good. There's lots of characters you can use in that game competently. There's just a lot to do. It's technical. I love that game. I love it.
And to be clear though, you still play that game to this day, right?
Yep.
Yeah, played it this year at Evo.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, we'll talk about that briefly. Like, yeah, that's a good game. I think a lot of people know you for. Obviously, like I said, your Evo moment with soccer that was a big one. To me, like before I moved here, like you were like a living legend because you'd beat Valle in that way and all that stuff, and like I was just kind of taken aback that I was moving to a scene that involved you and some other people that I'd seen online, like SNK, Mr. SNK, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's all like just fascinating stuff to me, man. I don't know if you saw, but Frank AZHP joined the chat and he said I picture Scott on that War Gods machine or Time Killers.
I played a lot of Time Killers. War Gods, not so much because not many places had it. And the 3D button, there was a 3D button. Think of it like the run button in MK3, same placement, but it was a big LED button and it got really hot. It would burn your fingers.
Oh, really?
A button you couldn't press.
It was a button. It was a button you couldn't press. Arcade operators had to disable the light. That game was so bad, but I did play it for a little while. I did play for a bit. I played everything.
I think one of the benefits of hearing your history as a fighting game player is that you talked a lot about retro games, right? And you talked about your break from, or not break, but just you stopped traveling competitively until this year, until this Evo. And I was curious about what got you out again and what games did you enter?
Well, the pandemic, came 5K2, and I got really hooked into that. Just playing a lot of Alpha 2, Alpha 3, Third Strike, ST, Hyper Fighting, whatever, It's not perfect. There's a lot of things they could do to improve it, but got really into it. Guys like John Choi came back to play. He hadn't been playing forever. He was never an online player. And we all started playing a lot of Alpha 2 and Alpha 3. especially.
Yeah.
And we were doing online stuff, doing stuff with Super Lore Boys. Shouts to Riz One.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention, because like I've joined a couple of those too. Like they're happening. They were doing stuff on Tuesdays before Wednesday night fights. They were doing like OG tournaments, so it was like rotating, right? Like they'd be like Super Turbo 1 week, Alpha 3 1 week, Alpha 2 another week, or something like that.
At first, it was just we were doing Alpha 2 like every week.
Okay.
We were for a while. Then we eventually added more games. We started doing the rotation stuff.
Yeah, so shout out to those guys, yeah, because like I got into Alpha 2 recently, like in the last year, just kind of learning some basic stuff from you, and like that's
simple
that game, like that game I never played. Like I don't remember seeing that in a cab or anywhere. I think maybe played it on like whatever console was on back in the day briefly, and then like so introducing me to that game, like that's been fun. Yeah.
It's a great game. It's a simple game to get into. Anyone can play it. If you can play Street Fighter, you can play that game. It's the easiest game to understand.
Yeah. So then go ahead with Evo here for this year, or what
so just playing a lot. So just playing on 5K a lot, and then I was meeting a lot of new players, like a younger player, especially the Alpha 2 scene. That I really grew attached to, really good guys like Slamtown Alpha, great birdie player, made a crappy character look top tier. Guys like Veritas, Sprite Mix, all those guys, and of course, seeing Vi, of course. Vi was really spearheading the popularity of that for a while with Wednesday night fights, and then and then Alpha 3 with Choi again and Kyokuji. Just formed a pretty good strong bond and all that. And then they're all talking about Evo and like they're going, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen anyone in a long time.
Sure.
Like, why don't I go? Like, you know what? I'm gonna go. Go hang out with Choi and all those guys, get some games in, and that's really what caused me to go. I didn't join any main games, so I was like, I'm just gonna join the old games and just have a good and hang out. It didn't quite work out that way. I ended up not playing very well that weekend because I had to babysit a lot of the setups because I brought arcade boards and misters, and there were some complications going on, and I had to babysit a lot of setups and help run stuff. So I really wasn't in the proper frame of mind to really play right. And I use that as an excuse because I lost to John Choi in Alpha 3. I was probably going to lose to him anyway because he's a better player than me, and it's a mismatch also. Cody versus Sakura is a total mismatch.
Real quick, what games did you enter, like, overall? Like, could you give us a list of those games?
ST, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, CVS 2, and Cross-Stepping.
That's a lot of games.
Nice.
I know. Yeah. I dropped out CVS 2, though.
Oh, okay, I guess. Yeah, and then those were all part of like the side area, the Vortex Gallery, the side event there at Evo.
Yeah.
Which me and John talked briefly about that. But that was like a whole other like kind of section to Evo that just a bunch of side stuff.
55 side tournaments.
Damn.
That's a lot.
It's crazy. Probably too much because it caused problems in some areas. We were running behind. Alpha 2 almost didn't happen.
The game that you showed in the highest placing for was Alpha 3, right? You want to walk us through some of your matches there?
Actually, it was Cross Tech, and I got 4th.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Huh. Yeah. And it was on PS3. It was awful. It was awful.
Okay, here we go.
Everybody complained about it. Everybody, even Brent, who won, he was like, "It's awful. This is so bad." And I just couldn't land links to save our lives. It was bad, but whatever. It was still fun. And I got 4th there, and then I got 5th in Alpha 3. I lost to Choi, and then I lost to Kayaman Blanca from Japan, who's like the best A Blanca. And Blanca is not that great of a character in Alpha 3, but for some reason I faced nothing but Blancas that whole tournament.
Exactly. Yeah, I was watching that stream.
I thought I was playing some ghetto like version of CVS 2. I'm like, what's going on here? And it turns out that Blanca also completely destroys Cody. If you saw the stream, you saw Blanca just doing Blanca ball, and I couldn't do nothing about it.
Yeah, there was a couple of times like I saw you like kind of hit it out of the air, that kind of thing.
I couldn't anti-air him. I couldn't anti-air him. I couldn't do nothing. I was a sitting duck on most of his attacks. You just could hit bugs, and I was like, what do I do? I tried practicing that match against Kyokuji beforehand because I knew I was going to face Kaiman. I didn't know I was going to play like 4 other Blancas too. I struggled on all of them. I struggled on every single one.
Do you
And
think
that's
any of
why
them tried to counterpick you specifically, or were they
No,
just happened
no.
to be
They just
Blanca
happen to be
mains?
Blancas. No, they just happen to be Blancas.
You got the shit draw, dude.
And that's why Cody relies on the infinite. He needs that infinite.
To
There's a couple of times on the
equalize.
stream. Yeah, you hit like a mid-screen infinite.
I felt
That
good
was
about
later
the
though.
one.
Yeah.
I felt good
Yeah.
against the one against Dr. B because that setup is a setup I came up with.
Oh, wow.
And I hear Version, who's like the best player ever in Alpha 3. He's the god of Alpha 3 in Japan, in the world. He was
Yeah.
there.
Oh
Him
wow.
and Kaya, man. I can hear them going, hey, like really loud. And I was like, yes, that made my day. That made my day because made him
Nice.
proud. Because I don't think they saw that because it was a mid-screen setup and usually you don't see those. And I
Yeah.
landed it on Dr. B. And I noticed I looked back on the VODs though, it lagged on the setup.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
No one
I
got to
clipped
see
it.
the setup. I was really
Yeah.
proud of that setup.
Yeah, when I clipped it, I was like looking back at it and I was just like, oh man,
Yeah.
the stream just happened to lag right
know.
here.
I saw the clip.
Yeah.
I was like, Benny didn't clip the setup. And I looked at it like, oh man, the setup froze. It froze during the
Yeah.
setup. I was bummed. I don't know if the local recording caught it though. We'll see. But
I have actually a pretty important question about that match in particular with Dr. B. What was Dr. B wearing? Anything? So
he's always wearing something loud. He's always wearing
Dr.
something
B
loud.
has a reputation for being like the loudest dressing player that I had seen in the old days, and then now I hadn't heard of him in a long time.
And his mouth. And
he talks a lot too. Yeah, like his big signature in Shoryuken forums was he just signed everything with Dr. B and some like random phrase, right?
He'll have 2 words in his Twitter post and like 25 tags.
I had no idea that guy was still around, so it's fascinating to hear that.
Yeah.
But he was also known to just dress very gaudily.
Hey, he made top 8. He got to grand finals in CBS 2. I mean, hey, you can say what you want about him, but he made it.
Very cool.
Yeah, so the other thing with the Alpha 3, I talked to, or we had chatted about it briefly, but it was a big thing for John Toy to win. I think you were talking about it kind of like being like full circle in terms of like the Alpha 3 scene.
Oh, that was huge. That was huge. I think most people that were there don't realize what just happened. What happened there when John Choi beat Ver. Like me and Choi, we've all been playing a lot on Fightcade, right? But like, this is all recent. Guys like Version, they never stop playing. This is their game.
Yeah.
This is the guy that comes up with all the tech that we use, right?
Yeah.
He wins. He runs Ultimate Zero, which is their nationals, their big tournament in Japan. He is the guy to beat. Excuse me. And watch John Choi pick him apart. I always say I think John Choi is probably like the best Street Fighter player ever. Just his pure fundamentals is just unmatched. Like the things he was doing, Version has to reapproach how to play the game. He even said that to us. I need to reapproach how I play this game because of you.
You got to wonder what it's like to be at the top for so long, and then because for Version, it sounds like he was at the top for so long, and then at the same time he wants to keep the game alive and keep playing the game that he's at the top of, right? But he's not being challenged, right?
He told us that he was coming here expecting not to lose, and he was just going to win with all of his secondary and third characters.
Because he just wanted to celebrate the game, right? But
yeah, he's all about pushing the game forward. He loves the game. He loves seeing people play it. I mean, dude, he flew out here for Alpha 3 only, and he left the next morning, Saturday morning.
Wow.
Yeah, and so watching John Choi and like watching the stuff that he does, it's something to behold. Like Vism is very powerful in that game, and whoever activates first loses because the other person will just counter activate, right? Blow through your invincibility with their invincibility. And seeing John Choi do stuff like, you know what? I got the better neutral, so I'm going to disable his Vism. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach him. I'm going to come into range. I'm going to activate VC to bait him to activate his VC, and I'm just going to back up. I'm going to not land
out of the
anything.
element. Yeah.
You take his VC out. You take his VC out. Now I'm going to force the neutral against you, and I'm going to win because you can't beat me in neutral. You can't beat me in neutral. And
so you basically changed the entire flow of the game on somebody who is supposed to be the expert on the flow of that game, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, very fascinating meta take on it.
Oh, dude, it was amazing to watch. It was so amazing. I was so proud of him, man. All the
Yes,
practice paid off.
yeah. I
Nice.
admittedly, I don't think I was able to. I didn't watch the rest of the stream. I think after you got eliminated, I think I had to go to work, dinners, that kind of stuff. But I gotta go back and watch those VODs too, because after we were talking about it, yeah, I was just like, man, I need to go see some of this stuff myself.
Yeah, and then I ended up losing to Kayaman, the final Blanca. He went fifth. I almost beat him though. He washed me first game like really hard. Like it was so free. But then I started making adjustments. I did land the infinite on him too, because I have to. I have to land
Yeah.
the infinite on him because I'm outmatched in neutral everything.
Sure.
I can't answer every kid. I have to land it. I have to have meter, and anytime I use that meter, I have to make it count, or else that character is going to lose. And also, I have the shortest guard set in the game. If you watched me play, I block one move, I'm in danger every time.
Yep.
I'm in danger of getting guard crushed. It's scary. I can't block. I'm not supposed to block with him. And because I do have dodge. The bonus is I have dodge, but I can't dodge any of Blanca's moves because all of his normals are lows. And I can't dodge Blanca ball. So he's just guard crushing me like crazy.
Yeah,
and
that's what I remember seeing.
yeah. So I have to land the infinite. I was able to land it, or I need to get him in the corner because Cody's got the best corner game in the entire game. His corner pressure is amazing. And I have to get him in the corner. I have to keep a pin there. And if I land a VC, I have to make a count. I have to convert into infinite. I have to, no matter what. Whether I love it or hate it, I have to do it. Right. And so we made it to third set, but I used my meter accidentally. I accidentally activated it on jump in. I didn't mean to. I think I brushed one of the other buttons, and now I was without meter, and I just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, that's your lifeline at that point, right? The way
That
to
was my
equalize a
lifeline.
bad matchup is to just dish out a ton of damage, but you need resources to do that.
I could have went Akuma, but the thing is, I wasn't playing any casuals before. I was too busy running tournaments, so we couldn't get any casuals or warm ups. So I was going into these tournaments raw.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because I think you and I were in contact on Messenger throughout the weekend, but I didn't really hear a ton about all the stuff that was keeping you not playing fighting games. Like what happened with all that?
So we're using arcade boards, but then we have stuff like they use undamp converters, so anyone can plug their stick in. But John Choi has one of those new mass sticks for Scanline City.
Oh,
okay.
He has a prototype run, but he also has a perfect 360 stick in there, which is an optical stick, and it requires a 5-volt charge, right, to power it, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
and I guess, and he's got a brick board in there, but I guess that 5-volt charge that is required to power that thing is just enough to where the undamped converter cannot power the stick.
Wow.
And he only plays on that stick. He can't play on Japanese sticks.
Like, so he would have just not entered the tournament if he couldn't play on.
He would have used GIMP characters like his Charlie, which is his second rate character. And I didn't want him playing that. So I had misters. So we're going to use Mister. No one's going to know the difference. No one can tell the difference. And to be clear, no one did know the difference in gameplay. No one knew. No one complained about it. The problem we had was button config and all that stuff, trying to figure it all out. It's not layman at all. So I had to babysit button configs, getting everything set up for every player the whole time. We learned that everyone had to put their sticks in PS3 mode. And no one knew how to do that.
For our listeners, what is a Mister?
Yeah,
so
Mister
is a FPGA platform. It's basically a hardware level emulation. It is an emulator, but it's not software emulation. So basically, like a lot of developers will use FPGAs. It's a CPU, but it's a reconfigurable CPU. Like you have a CPU that has a set of instructions, right? It has instruction sets pre-built. You can't change it, but FPGAs you can change, you can reconfigure, so you can make it simulate whatever type of hardware you want.
Right.
So you have these authors that will try to simulate the on a hardware level as much as possible. They grab the PCB, get the traces, whatever you can simulate all the way down to the transistor and resistor levels, right? All the signals, everything runs in parallel, so you can get potentially a cycle accurate core to the real hardware, where it could be 100%, almost like think of like you have a digital copy of a game. It's the same game, right? It's just a different format. It can be like that, but that depends on the author too and how far they go. They have to decap custom chips and all that to learn its circuitry and all that. So they're not all 100%, but they're extremely close. And to get the same type of accuracy and software emulation on Windows, you have to have very powerful PCs. Even to do like Beast Nest, the Super NES emulator, the accuracy version can cripple computers with RTX cards.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's how hard it is. But with these devices, this is like a $200 device that it could do.
Yeah, like I mean, because I like, I'm on Twitter a lot, and like I see the stuff that you retweet or this, things about the Mister just here and there, like, hey, I've gotten this to work now, and like, I'll look through the comments and stuff, and people are excited because they're like, oh, this is working now.
It's an amazing platform.
Cool. Yeah.
No one knew the difference. The problem was no one knew how to run the menus and configure things, and I never used it in a tournament setting, so I was learning stuff. So I had to babysit a lot of it. So I also had to do that for Alpha 2, Alpha 3, all that stuff. And
Veritas here says, Sabre's Tech made A2 and A3 happen at Evo. So I mean, that's a big shout out to you
those
to
games,
help.
Appreciate it.
Keep those going.
Alpha 2, we didn't run. Like Super Lore Boys did not run. It was run by Texas Shot Takers, and it was running late. It almost didn't happen. And we're supposed to run on nothing but arcade hardware, so they just busted out Misters. And the first round of the tournament was a wreck. They didn't have them configured right, so they were laggy. So the whole first round, luckily, everyone that should have won first round won pretty much. So I had to go through and scramble and reset all those Misters to the proper settings because they didn't know what the settings were. And then after that, then it was good. But man, we were so drained at that time, bro. I forgot how draining these tournaments are.
Yeah,
sure.
Yep.
They're busier than ever now, man.
Yep. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of like, there's a lot more travel too, to be honest. Like walking from one end of the venue to another.
Oh my God, it's huge.
Smaller.
It's huge. The walk just to get water was so long, man. The trek was so long. But
what do you think of the water, though? The gamer water, right?
Hey, man! Shout outs to them giving us water bottles and having those dispensers. I just wish they were spread out a little better.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
But,
like you gotta run a pipe, basically.
Yeah, man. No, Evo overall, man. I prefer smaller events. It is definitely more of a convention. But shout outs to, Rick, Walter, the Cannons, all those guys for being able to throw something like that. I can't even imagine the work that it takes.
Especially like you said, your last Evo was 2014. So like, I can.
And even then, I thought that was a convention, and I thought that was a convention.
Yep.
And it was nothing.
And you're stepping into this. Yeah. I remember the first time I walked into 2016 and just seeing all the space and like how all that was that. And, if that's expanded now, like even beyond 2016, 2017, I'm just like, man, looking to go back next year, but yeah.
I might go next year because I made a mistake of leaving Saturday night. I should have stayed till Sunday because I didn't get a chance to hang out with everybody enough because I was just so busy. There was just not enough time to do everything. And I didn't get to see all the people I wanted to see. Didn't get to hang out with people enough, So I'm gonna try to make an attempt to do it again next year. But I'm making it a fact. I'm not gonna run anything. But with that said, I'm working on some stuff with the Mister platform because I believe in the Mister platform because hauling around arcade boards and super guns and the mess it creates is a pain in the butt. Mister's gameplay, they're fine. It's fine. It's just we got to figure out a more layman's way for players to just plug their stuff in and go. Right. So I'm gonna try to work with some of the devs if possible on streamlining the process.
Yeah.
So then other tournament organizers, they can just do it and then we could be a little more streamlined. I'll help in that regard, but I got like a year to work on that. So I got some projects I want to work with on that. But next year I just want to go as a player. I want to play and I want to hang out.
Yeah. Oh, that's one thing I was interested in too was like since everybody's seen you, like you've lost a ton of weight, like 40 plus pounds is what you
70.
said last time.
70.
Oh, 70. Holy shit. Okay, so I'm just curious, like how was the reaction like from the the OGs and the people that you hadn't seen in forever? Like, obviously I know on Twitter you posted like an updated photo, hey guys, this is what I look like now kind of thing. But like how did that go about?
It was funny because Friday morning when I got dressed in the hotel, I decided to take a picture of myself in case people could recognize me and post it on Twitter.
I didn't recognize you when you came up to me and my girlfriend or my
fiance. But not only that, everyone has to wear masks, so it's kind of harder to recognize people, right? It's a lot harder. And I do remember I came up to a couple people I had to make sure my badge was visible. So in case people didn't recognize who it was, they see my name, were like, oh, there was a few times. And same thing with other people. I couldn't remember who, I couldn't tell who it was because the mask was enough for me to not notice who they were. And then we look at each other's badge and we're like, hey! And yeah, so I had to make sure it was all positioned so it didn't feel awkward when I come up to somebody. I remember I came up, I think, to Jabali, and he didn't recognize me at first. And all that. It took some people a couple seconds, but some people recognized me right away. Seth Killian, he snuck up on me, and I totally didn't recognize him. He looked completely different. He's wearing a cap. He's got longer hair, curly hair, and I'm like, he looked like someone's dad. He started talking to me. I'm like, it took me a minute. It took me a minute to process who it was, and but yeah, I you know the responses were very positive. It felt really good.
Nice.
You know, I got a lot of comments on it.
I feel like a lot of this was, everybody coming back from the pandemic as well, of being locked down and just wanting to see everybody, and just a big reunion in a lot of ways.
It felt good. It felt great. I unfortunately didn't get a lot of time to play Street Fighter 6. I wanted to, but
I feel like that's the general theme for most people as far as
the lines are too long.
Event was that
lines are too long.
There just wasn't enough time to do everything that we wanted to do, see all the people we wanted to see, play all the games we wanted to, right?
I strongly believe they need to have another day or make it a 24-hour venue.
Yep, yeah. we were just.
But I also understand that is expensive. I'm sure Vegas wants you out of there so you can get to the floor and lose money to the machines and all that. So you can, yep. I'm sure that's part of the reason. There's a lot of stuff involved, but I just wish there was a 24-hour venue or make it a third day. That's one thing I've never been a fan of Evo. Even before the stadium thing, it's always been a thing where Sunday everything shuts down and it's finals only. And I've never liked that.
It's a tough one because you want to pay respect to the people that made it all the way to the tournament. But nowadays, what I see with the arena finals is that the competitors, most of the competitors, it doesn't seem like they go there. They go and play in Salty Suites or something afterwards. It's mainly the spectators that want to go, right?
Mostly it's spectators. It's mostly spectators in there. So I feel like I wish they could have that going, but then also have a venue going or something. I don't know, man. It's like you said, there's just not enough time to get stuff done, and especially if you're entering a lot of stuff, you just don't have time for anything. Yeah, you don't have time to enjoy it. I didn't have a chance to go to any of the vendor booths.
Yep, that's something somebody just mentioned in the chat too. That was one of my things too.
I had no time.
If you want something at a vendor booth, that's the thing. That was one of the good things about me bringing my family. Is I'd be like, hey, can you stand in this line for me? I got other things I got to do, and then I'd come back and be like, okay,
bro,
because it's
much time. I wanted to buy something at the Arcade Shock booth, and that line was a mile long, and that was just to look at stuff.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
I remember having to dedicate a lot of time with my because I went with a group of players, but I also went with my fiance and another group of friends, and we did a half Vegas vacation and half tournament thing. And I remember dedicating a lot of time to my fiance and to my friend, just walking through the artist alley, looking at different things. We were on the hunt for a Monster Hunter themed merchandise, like stickers and t-shirts and stuff like that. And that was completely jarring for me because I was just like, oh, I've just played a bunch of international players and now I'm going to go shopping. And I was still in the same venue. I was still same venue, same world and everything. You could hear the finals going on in the background. And I'm like, oh man, I really want to play these casuals. But I also got to experiment the artist alley,
I know, dude. I wanted to buy stuff and everything, but man, it just wasn't in the cards. And
did you see the stick museum?
I did look through that.
Markman had a stick museum that had the majority of his collection on display, and you got to see some really rare sticks.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did manage to play one game of Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I did, man. I like it. It's like you said, it feels.
Did it feel slow?
Because it's always going to feel slow because you don't know how to move in that engine yet. You don't know how to optimize your movement, your combos. You don't know how to flow yet. But it looks really nice. I think. Yeah. In person, it looks way better.
Yeah.
I noticed that, man, the characters are really zoomed in, so there's not a whole lot of space.
Yep.
If you notice Street Fighter 5 is really zoomed out. Street Fighter 6 zoomed in, right?
I think it's because everybody talked about how normals are stubby in Street Fighter V, right? And so what you with a 3D model, you can with a 2D sprite, you can squash and stretch and take up a normal, like Sakura stand roundhouse in Alpha might take up half screen, right? But if you have a 3D polygon or a 3D model, you can't make that look realistic without zooming in. And I think that's what Strive figured out. I think that's what 6 is doing as well.
Yeah, because you're right. Strive's the exact same way. They zoomed in.
But then your normals hit half screen, and then the normals feel like the old school normals, right? They feel powerful again.
So one of my issues with 5, I think 5's a great game now, even though I don't play it anymore. But one of my chief concerns with that game is that even though these top level guys, it's amazing what they can do, the way they can whiff punish and everything. But I never felt like whiff punishing never felt good to me in that game. John, we've had these conversations before in the past.
Yeah. Sorry, in Street Fighter V.
Yeah, I've never liked the way it felt in Street Fighter V, and I felt like you just had to have godlike reactions just to whiff punish, and I felt like it was almost like it was almost like gate kept to people with fast reactions.
It was that, and then also people that wanted to guess preemptively to whiff punish and do the wish punish thing, and that was because
wish punish
8 frames of input lag, right, compared to the other games that we played.
Oh, so bad. That was so bad. But even then, it still never felt right to me in Street Fighter V, even with all the fixes.
Yeah,
when I play like Third Strike or Alpha 3 ST and even Street Fighter 6, it feels way better to whiff punish.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, and Street Fighter 6, you actually get a punish counter mechanic now too. When you get blow up there, like on whiff, they're in a punish counter state, and you get new combos. I found out.
Yeah. And then one thing I like too about the game, and I was talking to Vi about this, and I pretty much agree, is that it's kind of nice because unlike games like Alpha 3 and CBS2 or even Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, you always had to pick modes, right? Whereas in Street Fighter 6, you get everything.
Yeah.
You get every mechanic,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. No grooves, no super art selection, no nothing. You have everything. You have every tool at your disposal. And what's great about it is there's the only comeback mechanic in the game is the perfect parry.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It's weird because like the offensive tools that you use to create a comeback situation also, like the comeback mechanic is the drive meter and how organically you just burn and put yourself in burnout if you overuse it, right? It's like a weird inversion of a comeback factor, I think.
It's just so many things. I like that it's basically a guard bar, the resource meter, but I feel like the only true comeback mechanic in that game is a perfect parry.
I think that one big comeback thing that is currently in the build and they may change is that after you go to burnout and you get stunned in the corner, like if they don't kill you, you get full drive meter again. So that to me is the comeback mechanic, and that you just get full drive after stun. When you're getting your ass beat, right?
it was fun. The guy I did play, he did try to do a drive impact on me, and I just parried that crap on reaction.
Did you perfect parry it?
Yeah, I parried that thing.
Oh man, I couldn't perfect parry to save my life. I tried.
But either way, it's like I went in there. I wanted to make sure I could parry this thing because I felt like if you can't, I feel like drive impact is too strong.
Yep. I think drive impact is going to be the mechanic to beat when that game launches because it's the easiest thing to execute and it's the strongest thing out of the gates.
I do like the way it works though, because it doesn't really do any damage. I mean, when it's in neutral, obviously in the corner it's a different story.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the way it works, man. But I like that it's very loud and all, so you can react. There's plenty of visual cues to react to it.
It's a fantastic beginner mechanic too, because the counter to it is, in addition to perfect parry, but another counter to it is to just do drive impact yourself, right? And then you absorb their drive impact, and then you get this cool ass like cinematic thing, and it looks badass. And to the average player, to the average player, they're playing rock paper scissors without having to really learn about links or learn about Oki or any of that other stuff, right? But there's enough depth for the high level players too to be like, well, I'm gonna perfect parry instead.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited for it. I'm still concerned with the parries, because parries is always a concern in every game. Because one thing's for sure, I don't ever want to see Third Strike parries ever again. I like Third Strike a lot, but that was a very love-hate relationship. It's a toxic relationship, like an abusive girlfriend. Because like parries and third strike are amazing. Like it creates the most amazing moments, right? But then it also creates these scenarios where you feel like I can't do anything. I jab, I lose half my life. I do this, I lose half my life. I try to anti-air, I lose half my life. And you feel like nothing works because someone's just got your beats down.
Yep.
And it feels helpless, right? And that's where people could hate third strike, but it creates so many beautiful moments. So like parries are always really, you got to tread carefully, right?
Right.
So I do like the fact that the regular parries, you have to let go of the buttons at the right time to recover at the right time.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I like how this is going. I was a little concerned because like it activates a frame one, and it's like, well, what's to stop me from just waking up parry every time?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm like, oh, you got to cross up? I'll just parry. I'll just hold the buttons down on wake up, and then I'll parry your cross up. I'll do all this stuff. But then you still have to be able to recover in time. You have to let go at the right time, and then you still got to worry about throws,
empty
and all
jump,
that.
Empty jump.
Yeah, the empty jump into throw. All that stuff. And so we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I do think that maybe the meter usage of parries might need to get adjusted. I'm sure there's got to be a lot of changes. I think a half tick of a meter is a little too generous.
I think what they're doing is making a fighting game in 2022, and what that means is it's less qualitative and more quantitative, where you have all these little knobs and dials that you can twist, and you have like a core set of mechanics, and they're all supposed to be weighted evenly, as opposed to like third strike where the parry system is God and above all. And then you say, all right, well, now I can tweak individual damage values. I can tweak meter usage. I can tweak the amount of meter it takes away on block, that kind of stuff, and then get really into the nitty gritty to make those options all balanced. And they're doing it with balance patches in mind, and with seats, like knowing that they're going to be able to support it for years.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and here's the other thing too, and it's another pet peeve I had. Street Fighter V. Again, it's not a knock against that game or anything. It's just, so Street Fighter V is strictly a numbers game, right? That.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. It's a total scientific. It's a numbers game, frame data, and the big reason to that is because, well, there's no lack of pushback. It's hard to disrespect the numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to disrespect the numbers. You have to respect those numbers, right? It's designed that way.
Yeah. You have a +2 scenario, you have a +3 scenario, -2, -1, -5. Right.
And the fact that there's no pushback, you really have to respect those frame traps. You have to, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, and then the fact that they made reversals EX only, stuff like that, you really have to respect those numbers. And I don't know how I feel about that. I love frame data. I love looking at that stuff, right? I do, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And but I also understand that could be a big deterrent to the game.
Yeah.
And I would like to see Street Fighter 6 go back to more of like, I would like to see a little more pushback, so it's a little less frame trap heavy. Hello.
There's my cat.
Yeah, and because like when you play like older games like the Alpha games, Super Turbo, Third Strike, and all that stuff, when it's your turn, because like I could throw out a sweep in like the Alpha games. It's like -8, but the pushback is so big, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's -8. Hardly anything can punish it, right? But my turn is over.
Yep.
It's more visual, right? You don't need to know the frame data in those older games. You just don't. I couldn't tell you most of the frame data in the Alpha games. I can't tell you the frame data in Super Turbo or Third Strike. And I guarantee you the best players that play the game don't know it either. They don't need to know it. It's just, you don't have to know. The 5, I feel like if you don't know the numbers in that game, you can't win. Your instinct can only get you so far.
I don't completely agree with that, but I understand what you're saying. I think
I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't. But the majority is you're going to need to know the important numbers. You need to. I'm not saying you got to know the frame data to every move, but you better know your opponent's frame traps.
Yeah.
You better know. You better know the common moves to punish, the common moves to respect and not hit a button.
I think with Street Fighter 6, what makes that like there's a way I think they can do it like Street Fighter 5 where the people that want to crunch the numbers and be rewarded for that can still be rewarded for that, but the one frame parry changes that very drastically.
I think the
universal
drive
parry
system
changes that.
I think the drive system in particular can probably will disrespect the frames a lot.
Yep.
Just
and I think that's fair.
That and the drive impact because you get the armor.
Yep.
So you're gonna have you see because even in Street Fighter 4 you had backdash to disrespect the frames, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I really like that phrase, disrespect the frames. That's a really good phrase. Because you can choose to ignore, you can throw the book out basically, and then not and ignore that, and basically take the people that were studying all the frame data in advance and just put them on notice, basically. You gotta play me, not the book.
So with that said, I think it's going to end up like that. I think it's going to be a game where it's like you want the game to be for like the scientists, the number crunchers, and you want to
number munchers, dude. Number munchers.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah, I love that game. Yeah, so you want those guys, but then you also want the guys that can play more on feeling, instinct, and all that stuff, and just being able to outsmart, right? I think you want to, because I feel like 5 doesn't have that enough. It's heavily favored towards the science, the numbers.
I think that the presence of universal mechanics is the way to go with that, because then it allows people to play with their intuition without having to know the intricacies of a specific character. They can carry over and use. I'm going to use drive impact no matter what character I play if I know my opponent's pressing buttons, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good way.
Absolutely. I think, and I do think, at least I would hope that the producers understand this.
Yeah.
Because we keep talking about making these games easier to play, and I feel like that's really an area that people don't talk about a lot, is the frame data. Like, try to play Tekken, a legacy game, and having to memorize all that frame data. It is daunting. And there's like 40 characters.
Yeah.
That's a daunting task. Not saying it can't be done, but that game is all numbers as well. Again, and numbers and movement.
Yeah.
And you have to respect those numbers, and you have to know them. It's hard.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I mean, we're gonna see more, obviously, as more gets released. I don't know if there's gonna be a beta.
I'm sure the game's gonna change a little bit, because first time we saw Street Fighter 4, it was a different game than what retail came out. Street Fighter 5, we definitely saw that one.
Yep. We played the beta.
A drastically different game.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but even before the pre-release alpha stuff, remember when Daigo and like GamerB played, I think, and GamerB's just throwing like a million fireballs with her V trigger activation, and Daigo couldn't even move.
Yep.
And the animation, and then remember when like Chun would have all these crazy juggle combos? She looked like a Marvel character.
Marvel, Street Fighter 5 beta even had jab to strong links. Like it was basically Street Fighter 4. Also say hi to my cat's tail. But it was basically Street Fighter 4, and they only after the game was pretty much complete that they actually start breaking into identity of the fighting game. And I think they're doing that way earlier this time around with 6, and I think the DNA is there, the intentions are there. Like I know the EX DPs are still a thing. Like the meterless DPs are not invincible, but EX are. I think the crouch teching is still gone. And then there's also weird stuff like how you don't cross up in the corner anymore. And that throw back to the old school stuff,
I am a fan of not crossing up in the corner. I like that. I understand, like, I know the argument can be made that like people like to cross up in the corner because then you can just cross yourself up and put yourself in the corner. That's a mistake. But to be fair on that is that the cross up stuff in the corner creates way too much ambiguity.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a fan of it.
I'm playing Cross Tekken right now, and that game you don't cross up into the corners easily, and that looks really ambiguous when it doesn't cross up.
Oh yeah, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of it. Because it's like I already have you cornered. I'm already at a huge advantage. I think it's more interesting in the corner when you sit at that range and just control them in the corner. Just keep them trapped there. And I find that more interesting. I just don't like. I don't know, man. I don't like I just never been a fan of that. There's always been, because that's how old school Street Fighter was. I don't want to sound like boomer crap, and that's how it should be. But but you know what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen. There's going to be edge case scenarios where you're going to be able to cross up. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
There's gonna
no,
be
I
certain
think there already
scenarios-
are. I think there already are. Like,
Like,
if you
you-
jump
you-
from
you
point
knock it
blank, I
down-
think you get there.
Or
Yeah.
well, not only that, but maybe you score a knockdown in a corner, and then you have a perfect opportunity to squeeze in there as they're waking up.
Yeah.
Because their hurt boxes, their positioning is a little different. I think there's going to be some edge case scenarios, and I'm fine with that. I just don't want to see like the return of the vortex for like Street Fighter 4. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I think you can back roll in 6. I'm not sure. I actually didn't try that. I don't remember, but I really would doubt if they left something like that in 6 after like purposefully removing it from 5. I think that they're going to take a lot of the good things from 5, and then they're going to take a lot of the criticisms from 5 with like lack of style, lack of stubby normals and stuff like that, and then really amp that up for Street Fighter 6. And we can see
Open
that
it up.
already. Yeah.
Open it up.
I'd love to talk to you more about it when we know more about the game, Saber.
Yeah.
Like you could keep coming back on and giving us your perspective on there.
Absolutely, dude. I'm excited for the game, man. I'm not one of those guys that like, oh, it's not like this game. It's not like the old game. I come from a cultured background of playing dozens and dozens of games competitively. That's one thing I love about Street Fighter is every game is completely different. Legacy does not carry. I wish more games would do that. I wish Tekken would change up so it wouldn't be Legacy all the time.
That's actually a fair point. Yeah, like I never, I mean that's something I noticed too. And like, yeah, that's like if you play Street Fighter 2, like you play Third Strike, like that's a whole different game. 4, you got focus attacks and then red focus and all that stuff, and then
the metas
5,
are completely different, different mechanics, different meta. It's just everything's different. You know what a fireball is, a low forward is, and a DP is, and sonic boom. But how you apply all that's just completely different every time.
Yeah.
I think we could have an entire podcast episode dedicated to frame data. Maybe we get you and Jeff to battle it out or something. But yeah, we are running on time here. I think we're a little bit over 2 hours for our 5th episode here. So,
damn, already?
Wow, time flies, and we're gonna have more stories with you out of the future data.
I could talk all day. I could talk all day. I could talk all day about this stuff.
Very cool.
So.
Yeah, I just want to say, man, it's been a pleasure. Like, I mean, ever since I moved here 10 years ago, like, I mean, like I said, from 2009 and seeing you on stream and then moving down here, like the community's been super welcoming. Like you've become like one of my great friends in the scene. So it's been awesome to chop it up with you and talk about like all that stuff behind the scenes with some of the stuff I didn't know about in terms of the Evo 2009 moment and other things too. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, my experience with Scott's been very similar in that like he was celebrity status and like I wasn't sure if he would talk to me for a very long time. And like you don't like that's Saber. You don't talk to him unless you're really good at Street Fighter.
Oh man.
And
it's all about being inclusive. It's all about being inclusive, right?
Yeah. And I will say, Scott, you've become one of my best friends in that like you've like over the years you've done so many good things for the community. You've done things for me personally that I can't thank you enough for. And the scene has been really lucky to have you and still have you.
Yeah. I love all you guys, hopefully we keep growing, even if I'm not as active as I used to be. Well, who knows? My kiddo's grown up now, so maybe I'll be a little more active in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
See, that's where I'm about second wind.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Like my kids are older; they've been in the scene, but it's just like I'm getting to that point to where they're getting older, and I'm just like, okay, I have more time for myself now because they want to be more independent. So I'm like, this kind of works out in a way. So that's it's kind of something I didn't think about because like you're focused on family and you're focused on being there for them and doing stuff with them, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, sometimes they don't want to do stuff with me, or they got their own things, or they're hanging out with friends, and that's a whole different perspective I didn't think about.
I'm getting back to the phase where I could open up a little more now. It's like just because I got gray hairs, I'm in my 40s, dude. I'm playing. Bro, it's true, man. One of these days we're gonna open up an old timer Street Fighter retirement home. We always talk about it in the community. I'm playing.
Just have caps and everything set
up.
Bro,
I will play this stuff until the day I die.
Sign me up, bro.
I will play this stuff to the day I die. Will I play it in the same capacity as I did like 20 years ago? Probably not, but I will always play this stuff.
Yes. Also, one thing. Yeah, I was gonna say for those of you that are interested, yeah, Saber's pretty active on Twitter, like especially with like the just talking amongst whatever. You can find him at Saber_AZ.
Yeah, you can hear me talk about Mister and High Refresh shilling with
Yeah.
Arturo all day.
Oh man, we got
Because
that's a whole other podcast episode too. That
Oh,
and
yeah.
Hitbox, and oh man, we got a lot. We got a lot.
Let me just say one thing. If you guys have 60 hertz monitors, upgrade your monitor.
Dude, I just bought
Upgrade
like a
it.
$2,000 ultra wide 60 hertz monitor. I hate that you're saying that to me because I want to. I found out I played on 144 hertz and I've seen the light. But
Let me make this really quick to people. Jumping from a 60 hertz monitor to like 144 hertz or even 120 hertz monitor, you gain a frame of lag. You drop a frame of lag, and that's what the game's still running at 60 frames per second.
Yeah,
and I have a feeling these new games. I hope Street Fighter 6. I hope it leads the way. I hope they have a high frame rate mode, and then you're really gonna feel it, and you're gonna see it. You're gonna see the difference, and you'll never be able to go back. I'm telling you guys, don't cheap out on your monitors. Yeah, I mean, high refresh monitors are cheap to get now. Don't waste your money getting the 4K ones unless you really need it, or if you got bougie money to spend like John here.
Hey, I'm on 60 hertz, man.
Yeah, but you get a nice 1080p monitor, 165 or so, 240. 240 is a really good spot if you can do it at 1080p or a 1440p monitor. You can get them for like under $300, dude.
Nice.
Don't you if you're buying a 60 hertz monitor in today's age, you're doing it wrong, John.
Well, there you go. There you go.
I did it wrong.
Advice from the man himself, man.
I'm just telling you, you will see the difference. There is a difference. There is a difference.
Thank you very much for the sage advice and for being on our show. I think
Absolutely.
we've moved to a weekly format, and we do mini episodes every now and then. But by and large, our episodes will mainly be shot on Thursdays and aired on Twitch here with y'all. And so our next episode is going to be on the 18th. So on next Thursday.
Yeah.
And
so
who
next
is
Thursday,
next?
We're going to talk to Daniel Benitez, aka Dragon Ninja.
Dragon Ninja.
Local TO for local DOA player, helping to run a monthly here called Z-Axis, which is actually I timed that perfectly because they have a Z-Axis next Saturday. So,
I'm looking forward to hearing that because I want to hear what he says about how DOA 6 is now because I know that was poorly received, and he's a huge DOA guy. So I'm curious to see what he thinks about the game in 2022.
Yeah, that's actually the topic that we were going to talk about is
nice.
him. Something that I was real interested in, and he reminds me a lot of one of my friends back in Alaska, which I'll elaborate on next week. So
shout out to Dragon Ninja for real.
Yep. Stay tuned for that. So with that, we will call it a night here. Again, this video will also be uploaded to Spotify and YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series, and Spotify, you can search for Absolute Guard, or an Apple Podcast you can search as well. So that should be up later tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all later.
All right, guys. Bye.
See ya.
Later.
Bye.